Yeah, the Bible says, know thyself, not label thyself.
And knowing thyself is a process of exploration and a process of removing the things that are not true. People many times ask me, Luke, how do I find truth? And I usually point them back to the book of Proverbs, and truth is often compared to gold. The process of refining gold is not a process of adding things. It's a process of a lot of heat, a lot of pressure, the dirt rises to the top, that gets cleaned, and it gets refined. Truth is the same way. It's not about adding things, it's about removing, going to the root layer and knowing thyself. Marcus Aurelius said it, and when he said it, it was this understanding of most people have adopted labels that have been given to them. Like, you are not your name. If I ask you, who are you? Oh, well, I'm Jack, I'm from this place, this is what I do. No, those are all labels. And I didn't ask you where you're from, I ask you, who are you? And most people get shell-shocked at that question because most people have never asked themselves that question. They've just adopted labels from other people to construe this image of who they are supposed to be. And many times it's very warped because the images of what we're fed, of what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a father, what it means to be a wife, a son, a daughter, have been fed to us. It's very important to explore truth. It's very important to, when truth talks to you, to listen. Because if you want truth, and most people want truth, that's why they're watching this podcast. A lot of people like to live in delusion, but people watching this content, they're looking for truth. Truth will many times challenge you to get rid of parts of your life in order to win. And once you're confronted with that reality, truth is often compared to as a mirror, where you look at yourself and you're like, wow, like I have to change these things. Only a fool would look at himself in the mirror, know that there's something to change, and walk away without changing it and be stupid. You go to a mirror right now, you have some stuff on your eyes, maybe a little stuff on your face, maybe you need a shave. You're like, okay, the truth is telling me that this is what I need to do. Most people in real life, they just walk away, ignore it. The man that realizes they need to become better, they need to level up, they need to adapt. Look at those things and they change. Why? Because they love themselves and they want to do what is best for them.
I find it really interesting what you're saying about the question of who are you without all the labels. I was asked that one time by a really spiritual-esque meditation type yoga woman. It tripped me out for a day or two. But I guess, Luke, without all the labels, who are you? And kind of ties into another question I was going to ask. If money, status, power were no object, how would you spend your time?
Who am I? I'm still figuring it out. I'm still in the process of removing the programming that I've been given for the last 25 years about who I am, what I'm about, what are my values, what I believe. But I'll get back to you in a couple of years with that answer. What was the second question?
You said you're removing things.
Yeah, removing all the things in my life that I've been told that are meaningful, removing the things that society has told me equal success, things that society has told me equates to a man. We have this consensus nowadays that women, for example, that they have to go into the workplace and they have to compete with men, and there's this patriarchy and that men are terrible. Women have adopted this philosophy of being. Not everyone, but at least in this Western society they have. I go to Asia, they don't think that way. I go to Africa, they don't think that way. I go to Eastern Europe, they don't think that way. They've adopted a different philosophy of what? Of labels. In this case, more traditional ones. But once you adopt labels, that label becomes your identity. So my identity today, I would like to say, is found in Christ, because Christ is the perfect example and reflection of what it means to be in unity with God. And if my entire goal in life is to be in connection with the truth, aka God, then I have to remove everything that is not true.
Yeah. And if, I guess practically, what's one thing you recommend all people to remove right now?
Pride. Back to the beginning.
Yeah.
You can't succeed without humility. Pride is going to kill you. Pride is why Satan fell. He wanted to be like God. We want to be like God. We want to tell God what's right, what's wrong. We don't know shit. Humble yourself. If not, God's going to humble you.
Yeah, people say the first sin was when Eve and Adam bit the apple, disobeyed God, but in reality the first sin was when Lucifer fell from heaven because he was prideful. It's the ultimate sin, the original sin. But the other question was, what would you do with your time if money, status, power were no object?
Help people. I think there's a lot of people in need, and it's hard to solve people's psychological problems and spiritual problems if you don't first supply their earthly needs. Many years ago, we provided water wells to Liberia. We helped in orphanages in Thailand. And you see these kids that have nothing, that a piece of bread satisfies them. An apple, just goes a very long way. So being able to spend time with people that are in need, helping them, is the ultimate form of satisfaction, because we're all the same. Jesus said something interesting. We're talking a lot about Jesus, but Jesus said something very interesting. He said, true religion is taking care of the widow and the orphan. So all these people that are sitting in padded pews with the air conditioning, singing their little bullshit Hillsong, choir songs, that haven't really done any real work with people, they need to have a reality check. Because if Jesus is telling you, hey, real religion, real loving me is taking care of the widow and the orphan, then that's what we need to do. So that's the process that I'm in. And if money is no constraint and time isn't a constraint, then that's what I would spend the rest of my life doing.
It's a really interesting framework that should be more obvious, that if you want to go to heaven, be like Jesus and just take the actions that he took and try to apply them today. A lot of people pray to Jesus, but they don't live like him.
And why?
Because people identify with labels as well.
Because they're hypocrites. Because they say something, but their heart is in a different place. Like, your actions are what matters. You will know them by their fruit. You will know them by their actions.
That makes me want to ask you more about something you said on our last podcast. It was a clip that did extremely well. It was, you are what you think about. Are your thoughts because of your actions, or your actions because of your thoughts? Like, where does it really start with?
There's this hermetical principle, as above, so below. Your will be done on heaven as it is on earth. Everything begins in the mind. In order for something to become real, it needs to first be thought, because thought is energy, and thought becomes manifested through action into the three-dimensional world, right? So action is what makes the thought reality, but it all works together. That's why Paul says, without what? Works, faith is dead. Because the only way that you know that faith is real is if your actions match to what you believe. Because if you believe something, but you don't do what you believe, do you actually believe it? Or are you just a hypocrite? So everything is in symbiosis. You need to control your thoughts, because your thoughts lead to actions. Actions lead to habits. Habits lead to behavior. Behavior leads to lifestyle. Lifestyle then what? Feeds back to your thoughts. Because what you feed is what you spend time on. There's this common parable of two dogs, the white dog and the black dog. Whichever one you feed the most is going to win the battle. If they're supposed to go against each other in some dog type of dog battle, the one that you feed, the one that you strengthen, is the one that's going to dominate. If you're out here watching porn all day, satisfying yourself with social media, objectifying women, thinking about, the next rapper's drama and song, but you spend no time with God, spend no time developing your physique, spend no time in nature, what you feed becomes strong. And what I realized was that my desires were mine, and they were there because I was feeding them. So the things that I wanted in life, they were there because I put them there. The reason I looked at a woman in a certain way was because of the things that I was feeding myself that changed my perception and my worldview. So you need to control what you feed, which will then control what you think. And it's a hyperloop that every single person is always in. So you need to match every aspect and always be aware.
And find the root cause.
That's it.
If you had 5 minutes with Jesus Christ, what would you say to him?
You can have 5 minutes with Jesus Christ at all times. Jesus never wrote a word, which is interesting. Everything was written about how he lived and who he was. But back to your question, if I had 5 minutes with Jesus Christ, I would ask him, never been asked that question before. If I had 5 minutes with Jesus Christ, I would ask him, What is the best way to love people? I mean, he exemplified it. I don't need to ask him. Sacrifice. He sacrificed himself. He sacrificed what he wanted, who he was, for others, which is the story of the cross. I probably wouldn't ask anything. I'd probably just sit and listen. He'd probably spit some mad game, some parables here and there, leave me kind of whacked out. And be like, oh, no wonder you're Jesus. Yeah. He's an interesting character in history that every person with humility should go and study. There's a reason people echo his name. There's a reason why billions of people worship him. Why? It's worth exploring. There must be something there.
What has made you doubt your faith?
Doubt isn't a bad thing. Doubt is something that every person should have regarding their faith. Because how do you know that your faith is your own? How do you know that it's not, that hasn't been given to you? I had a podcast a couple months ago where I had this guy, he said, I'm a Christian. And I asked him a very simple question. It got clipped out of the podcast because I kind of grilled him. But I asked him, well, do you believe the story of the cross or the story of Jesus dying on the cross? He said, yes. And I said, well, okay, well, which mountain did he die on? Or where did he die? He was like, I don't know. I was like, well, do you even know? He's like, no, I believe these things. It doesn't really work that way. The idea of cementing your faith or really truly knowing goes through questioning. The scientific method is a process of questioning, exploring, observing, and seeing what worldview matches best to live a wholesome, fulfilled life. And I just happen to correlate and resonate with the worldview of Jesus. I'm not perfect, I'm very far from it, but the way that he conducted himself towards people. You want to talk about feminism? Jesus was the ultimate feminist. He protected women, protected their rights, protected their value more than any other person in history. If you're a feminist left-winger, go study Jesus. You'll love him. And if you don't, it's because you have pride. And there's certain areas that you might disagree with him, but we've been deceived. We've been told, oh, well, Jesus equals the church, or Jesus equals this dumbass pastor that doesn't even understand what it means to have a relationship with God, and this is how you should act, and this is how you should behave, or this youth pastor treated me poorly, or this person at school was Bible thumping me. Yeah, but that is not God. That has nothing to do with him. That is what you're casting upon him of what it actually means to have faith. Faith is something that comes through questioning. There's no issue doubting your faith. You just have to spend a lot of time, once again, removing all the lies, removing all the garbage, and eventually you'll find the gold, the truth.
I think people often think of their religion as their identity with the community of other people in that religion, as opposed to their identity with the creator itself or the religion itself. It's often like, what does this religion make me feel like when I spend time with people of that religion, rather than when I just do the work myself? It's an interesting thought you maybe have.
My comment to that is very simple. If God can speak to other men, he can speak to me. If God can speak to a prophet, add any prophet's name, he can speak to me as well. There's no difference between them and me. What I need to do is be receptive, understand what it takes to speak to God. Most people don't know that they're full of static. They're full of distractions. They haven't created a space to meditate. There's a verse that says, be still and know that I am God. Not be still and believe that I am God, or be still, stop, and let God speak to you. And he will, because we are all created in his image, and God loves all of us. And if we stop, we spend time with him listening, because we know nothing. And we're talking out of our asses here, like, let's be real. We don't know anything. Then he can guide you. And you don't want to make decisions on your own. You want the creator of the universe, who's readily and available, to guide you and to help you through the process of life. And I've just found it to be a lot more rewarding with God by my side.
Do you think there's any validity to numerology?
Absolutely. Numbers are the language of the universe. They are the universal language on which everything is built, whether it's the construct of the pyramids, whether it's the construct of the planet, whether it's the stars. Numbers are the language of God.
How do you use numerology to make money?
I'll tell you when I get there. I haven't figured that one out yet, but I know it's valid. I mean, you look at some of I believe it was Rockefeller, he said, and he didn't mention numerology, he mentioned astrology, but there's a lot of correlation through numbers that millionaires don't study astrology, billionaires do. I don't know why he said it, but he said it for a reason. Maybe it's because he knows he was a billionaire. But I haven't really delved much into this world. Maybe when I have a little bit more free time from all these meme coins. Just kidding.
Last time on this podcast, you had a clip get 25 million views where you said the best piece of advice you received was, you are what you think about. What's the worst piece of advice you've ever received?
The worst piece of advice I've ever received is that good things come to those who wait. Good things don't come to those who wait. Good things come to those who act upon what they know through consistency and repetition. That's how good things happen. Things don't just fall on your lap. Blessings come through effort, dedication, and a lot of energy towards your goal and endeavor. Patience is a virtue, and it's a good thing. But when it comes to accomplishing your goals and your dreams, if you want to be successful, there's no time to waste. Time does not wait for you. Life does not wait for you. You have to either grab it and go for it, or you'll be left behind.
Beautifully said. Well, everyone, this is the Jack Neal podcast. Thank you to Luke Belmar here for hosting us in Puerto Rico.
Comment, hashtag I studied. Peace. Part 3.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks.